Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about how I made my Asajj Ventress costume. Asajj Ventress is one of my favorite Star Wars characters. However, I was never really super inspired to recreate her costume from the Clone Wars. When I came across Adam Fisher's design for her on ArtStation, everything changed. I really love how he made Asajj's likeness a little bit more refined and a little bit more Sith-like, and it almost had a bounty hunter feel. So I'm going to throw that picture up on the screen so you can see the comparison, but what I wanted to do is work with him so I could bring this costume to life. I think that he was so gracious in working with me, and he helped me get high resolution images and kind of work with the 3D files that he made of her costume so that I was able to bring it all together. And without further ado, let's get into the video. My first and favorite step in the cosplay process was searching for the perfect fabric. I spent countless hours searching in Joann's and online to find the perfect fabric that matches Adam's design. For the tunic, I decided on a waterproof ballistic nylon. Supposedly it's military grade and can help protect you from shrapnel and exploding debris. A perfect fit for Asajj. I also had some leftover faux leather from other projects that I used for the undershirt and some of the accessories. The red lining and sash is a pretty synthetic blend that I found at Joann's. For the undershirt, I had a nice pattern to start with. Unfortunately, a common mistake I make with sewing things is making them a little too short and a little too tight. I didn't adjust for the fabric not to stretch enough with my faux leather. Obviously for cosplay, it's a situation of, if it looks good, don't fix it. So I decided it wasn't worth a redo. The sleeves have this complicated design that I wanted to recreate, and it was one of the hardest patterns I ever made from scratch. In fact, Reno had to help piece it together with me, and he ended up finishing sewing it for me. It took a lot of fidgeting to get it to look right, but I'm really proud of the outcome. Once the shirt was finished, I worked on the sleeveless tunic. I don't really know what to call this piece. A gambeson? A coat? Akiton? Jacket? Robe? Whatever it is, the sleeveless tunic was actually pretty easy to get the shape right, since I actually used my old Ursine armor pattern as a base and made adjustments from there. The costume has such a cool silhouette to it, and it translated nicely in this stiff and strong fabric. It holds its shape really well, and it feels protective when you put it on, helping you get into character. For the cool geometric designs, I knew I wanted to use bias tape to carve out the shapes. I laid blued painter's tape down initially to get the designs right, then just used Gorilla Glue that dries flexible, waterproof, and adheres really well to this fabric. I had done some tests with E6000 glue on fabric adhesion, and I actually found that this Gorilla Glue has a stronger bond. The tunic has hook and loop closure with ornamental 3D printed and metal buckles. I'm really pleased with this piece since it came out so sturdy. I say I want my materials to be as near functional as they are beautiful. I love the ballistic nylon and how it keeps me dry shooting in the rain, and how rugged it is even when I brush against trees and rocks. I never have to worry about it fraying or catching, which is great because this costume has seen a lot of use. The hooded bib was a detached piece that goes on separately from the tunic, which was an interesting design choice. I think it brings a cool detail to the costume. We used the same technique Reno used for his Kylo Ren hood, which you can check out here if you like. The bib was a pretty simple pattern to hash out. It's really just a modified toilet bowl shape. I also did the same bias tape treatment here as with the tunic. The accessory pieces like the belts and straps are made from anything from webbing, leather, and this really pretty satin material for the sash. I went with the red satin and used that as a lining in the tunic as well. I haven't done a lining before, but this one gives such a professional look. It brings some nice color into the costume and just feels premium. My undershirt has a small collar that all but covers the gorget. I wish I had made the gorget a little taller so you can really see and appreciate the detail in this chevron-like pattern. This would have also helped me need less white makeup down my neck. This was another very complicated pattern that we made from scratch, which I needed Reno's help to make. I actually ruined my first one by trying to glue fabric lining on the back. It created such a terrible puckering and warping that I had to start over. A mistake I won't make again for the final piece. Again, hook and loop closure is used for the gorget. For the pants I had a few options, but I usually wear these Moto faux leather leggings that have a similar design to the original. I am planning on making pants with pockets in the future. The piece we had some of the most big think on were the gauntlets or gloves. In the original design, you can see they have some sort of metal clasp, like they would screw into the jacket somehow, kind of like astronaut suits. Or maybe they just pulled on and had some sort of metal bracers at the end to offer some sort of protection. Whatever the case, we were never able to figure out a feasible way of replicating that. The whole costume took me almost 2 years to finish, partially because of the pandemic, and partially because Reno and I both lost our jobs at the same time. By the end of it, I was pretty tired and at the top of my budget for the costume, so I went with some long faux leather opera gloves and just cut them down to size. I had my friend Wyatt Buxton help me 3D print the armor pieces. This was my first time working with 3D prints, and to say I was amazed is an understatement. Cosplay as a hobby has improved so much, partially thanks to 3D printing, and it's a serious upgrade from foam. I was so lucky to have friends help me out as I replicated the designs. After heavy use of the costume trudging around forests, deserts, and even rocky beaches, a couple small pieces towards the bottom cracked, but other than that, the rest looked great. The boots are just a second-hand pair of riding boots that I got on eBay. Adam's original design kind of has this wrapped look, but it also features a square toe. I was able to get pretty close with the pair that I found. I like these boots because I can also use them for my dark gray costume as well. Now for the part that brings this look together, the makeup. For my Asajj Ventress trailer project, I went with Adam Fisher's design for Asajj's markings. At first I tried stencils, but they slid around a lot and I could never get them right. So every time I wanted to do the costume, I had to hand paint each marking on with black face paint. This was my first time really working with face paints in this way, and there was a steep learning curve to get it right. I've done both Adam's version of Asajj's tattoos and the Clone Wars version. While I personally think Adam's are cooler, they're much harder to do. The Clone Wars are more recognizable and easier, so I switched to that look for the most part. I apply the white base with my airbrush. It's a game changer to get a perfectly smooth starting point for the markings to apply on top of. I also have some bright blue contacts for when we film, which, to be honest, unless it's lit really well, it's kind of hard to notice. I did end up shaving my head bald for the filming of our Asajj project. I knew as soon as I started working on the character, I would entertain the idea of going totally bald for the look. I knew it would make filming so much easier because I wouldn't need an extra 2 hours to apply a bald cap, especially when we were going to shoot in the desert. I could go straight to the makeup portion. I personally loved going bald. Not only does it make an extremely convincing costume, but having a buzz cut kind of looked cute. For my later shoots with the character, I did opt for a bald cap after my hair had grown out, which was difficult in its own way, and it takes getting used to. I also found out I'm slightly allergic to the Mayron and the Pros-Aide adhesive that I used for the cap, so it makes wearing it kind of uncomfortable. At my most recent con, the bald cap became undone in the back, even with meticulous application. So if anyone has any recommendations for sweat-proof adhesive, let me know. Asajj is one of my favorite characters to cosplay. From her bald head to her facial tattoos, she's just such a badass and cool looking character. I really enjoyed making this costume by Adam Fisher, and I'm so glad that I was able to bring it to life. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video, and go check out our Asajj Ventress trailer and the behind the scenes of how it took us 9 months to produce a 3-minute trailer. Thanks for watching.